Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today's upload is a variety of absolutely terrifying experiences and some very interesting theory surrounding the missing 411 National Parks portal and whatever is in these DUMBs. Possibly a biblical connection. You will see what I mean with some video evidence. Before we get into this, although, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. Yes, folks, they definitely matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into today's upload, shall we? Today's first encounter. I figure that sharing this experience may make someone else vigilant with their own loved ones while in the woods. I'm going to be extremely detailed, as I know there are many people who are very well versed in investigations and in research pertaining to this subject, and details do matter. The location of this experience is in Washington State, in Mount Baker, Snoqualmie National Forest, just outside of Greenwater, Washington. To narrow this down a little bit more, we are talking about an area that oversees Stampede Pass. Very middle of nowhere. To give a little bit of background on my wife and I, we are decently skilled in the woods and desert. We are one of those weird couples that use our PTO driving around the country, overland camping in terrible conditions, before a 3-day party in Vegas and drive home. We've been lost in the woods, broken down in the woods, had negative interactions with bear, had a female cougar hang out in our campsite during mating season. YouTube what that sounds like. It's pretty crazy. Moral of the story is we are confident and experienced with no help. The freedom of all of this is something we really enjoy. My wife is a dental assistant raised by her mother, who is a saleswoman, and a father who is an aircraft mechanic. Prior to our relationship, she had little to no experience in the woods, but that changed pretty quickly once we started seeing each other. At the time of this experience, she had gained a lot of experience in the woods. I was raised by a Vietnam combat veteran turned drill instructor, turned 37-year street cop and firearms instructor. I grew up on the range. Following high school and a couple of nowhere jobs, I ended up becoming an armored car guard, which is a job that I have and had for 11 years now. With my dad being a hardcore outdoorsman, naturally, I followed suit. This is a weird detail to include, but it will make sense later. My wife and I are avid dog people. We absolutely love our dogs. They are one of the most important things in our lives. When our last dog had a medical incident, we were the people on the floor giving doggy CPR. If something happened to my wife or I, there would be a response, but you heard our dog, John Wick, becomes a documentary. The time frame of this experience was about 3 summers ago, mid-June, on a quick one-night camping trip that spanned approximately 18 hours. We arrived at our campsite in mid to late afternoon. We tried to make it to a campsite that we knew and wanted to visit, but unfortunately there was still too much snow on the ground at that elevation, and as we only had one vehicle, we couldn't safely make it there. One detail that I want to include is how difficult it is to make it to this campsite. We had been exploring for quite some time after we realized we couldn't make it to our intended destination. The road leading up to this campsite is extremely steep. I remember making the comment to my wife that I hope that I don't have to back down, so we may not make it. Our rig is pretty built with all the aftermarket things you'd expect: skid plates, bumpers, tires, suspension, snorkels. It took some very legitimate technical driving to get there. It appeared that the campsite had not been used for some time, probably a couple of years. No garbage, very dusty on the edge of a cliff overlooking a valley. One thing that made this campsite unique was that it was in an area that had been burned out in the previous year's fire. So where you may be used to seeing the green forest of the Pacific Northwest, this had a little bit more of that ominous feel, as all of the trees were basically burnt-out black sticks sticking out of the ground. The weather on this day was practically beautiful. Very warm, upper 70s, and no wind. One thing that stuck out to me immediately upon exiting the Xterra was just how quiet it was. The normal sounds of the woods just were not there. If you have tinnitus, you will know what I mean when I say it's one of those places where it's so quiet that you almost instantly, tinnitus will kick in. Setting up camp was pretty much business as usual. After setting up our ARB awning and the awning room, my wife quickly went sunbathing. I pretty quickly went into my normal routine of using the opportunity of being in the woods to run range drills. After a couple of hours, it did start to cool down a little bit. I went through the process of getting a fire prepped so later I wouldn't have to do it in the dark. I remember specifically that it was when I was picking up my brass from running drills that I started to just get a little cold. I'd been wearing shorts and a tank top and body armor all afternoon, so I headed into the awning room to change into some pants. I remember sitting down on my cot and thinking that I heard a dog bark. I stopped what I was doing and waited for a second, and as clear as day I could hear a dog barking. The sound of the dog barking was extremely clear. This wasn't anywhere near the sound of some other animal in the woods. This is what you would expect to hear in your home neighborhood. This is what you would expect to hear from your neighbor's dog 2 houses over. Outside of the tent, I hear my wife say, "Is that a dog?" I had responded back by saying, "Do you see anyone?" She had responded back saying, "No, but it sounds like it's coming from over there." As I poked my head out of the tent, she's pointing in the direction of where I had been shooting, which was essentially into an overgrown area past a berm that I had been using as a backstop. Interestingly enough, the barking stopped. I finished getting myself situated and exited the tent and walked toward the area that the barking had been coming from. I found nothing there, no evidence of any kind of animal, and furthermore, no evidence of what typically comes with a dog, a person. To be clear, the area that this barking was coming from is not an area that somebody could reach with a vehicle. There also is no alternate route they could have taken to allow somebody to drive around and approach us from the opposite side. We had taken the only road to get there, and drove it until it ended. Nothing else is even close. We discussed the possibility that maybe it was a lost dog, maybe someone had driven out here and abandoned a dog. And so we essentially went into a 3 to 5 minute session of trying to call in this dog. My wife begged for us to go in, look for it. I said no. There was basically no response. It went back to being just as quiet as when we had gotten there. I don't want to say that either of us were really upset or unsettled at this point, but we were definitely feeling a little bit more heightened sense of vigilance as what was going on around us. As I said before, where there's dogs, there's people, and there really shouldn't be any people out here. We had negative experiences with people in the woods before, so naturally, any time that we may run into people in unusual circumstances, we are very careful. We continued the evening as we normally did, drinking a couple of White Claws, getting a fire started, playing the music that we used to listen to as teenagers, and cooking up some dinner. At this point, it's getting to be around 7 p.m. I had returned back to the tent to grab a hoodie because the temperature is dropping a little bit more, but it was still relatively warm for the altitude. Within 3 to 5 seconds of me entering the tent, the barking started again. When I heard it, I froze and listened, and it was coming from the same direction that my wife had pointed out before. Before I could even poke my head back out of the tent, my wife said out loud, "Why, it only happens when you go into the tent." She's a lot smarter than me. To be completely honest, I kind of dismissed her statement intentionally and went back out and sat next to her by the fire, and the evening continued. After a couple of minutes had passed, I returned to the tent again. Within a few seconds of me entering the tent, the barking started. Remember still that this is the sound of your neighbor's dog. When I exited the tent, the barking stopped, just as it had before. At this point, my wife and I shared one of those very brief moments where you lock eyes with somebody, and without saying anything, you know something's wrong. It's so difficult to describe the moment, but you just knew something was wrong. I remember turning into the tent and starting to put on all of my gear that I was using when I was running drills. We had wildlife encounters before. This was different. Something felt extremely wrong with what was happening. I put my plate carrier and my weapon and started the process of loading the magazines that I had emptied out while running drills. One thing that I remember as being practically unique was that my wife came into the tent with me and helped me start loading magazines. This is very unusual, as she is somebody who is always pretty and has her nails done, and absolutely hates loading magazines. So looking back on this, I think that this really speaks to how creepy the situation we had found ourselves in, that she would ditch the nice spot by the fire to get into the tent and load mags. I remember when we exited the tent, both my wife and I commented on how it seemed like it had gotten extremely cold very fast and very early. I think we both exited the tent expecting to be face to face with some kind of threat that was moving in on us, but we exited the tent. There was nothing there. I looked around some and nothing. I even went deep into the direction of the barking and nothing, no animal tracks at all, which frankly puzzled me. This area was burnt out. The ground was covered in ash. It was like walking on the moon. Anything would leave tracks. We tried to return to somewhat a normal camping trip feel, if being by the fire in a full kit is normal to you. My wife sat back down by the fire. At this point, I refused to sit down, and I was more just moving around the campsite and keeping an eye on the surroundings. At this point, I'm moving around the campsite, and my visibility is starting to drop some. It's not necessarily dark, but in the woods, even being burnt out woods, it's just starting to get difficult to see more than just a few feet into the tree line. I returned to the tent to grab my helmet with PVS 31S, leave me alone, I like my freedom. And as I walk to the tent, I make the comment to my wife that I swear to God if I hear that barking again, I go into the tent barking. Now I'm mad and scared, honestly. We started to touch on something that is so unusual in the woods that it's difficult to explain to yourself. Going back to our short planning before this camping trip, one of the reasons that we decided to take this quick camping trip was because it was just going to be a nice, easy trip. There was absolutely no adverse weather anywhere on the forecast in days before, during, or after when we were taking this trip. In a time of less than 30 minutes from this beautiful evening with not a cloud in the sky changed into somewhat a weather nightmare. The winds picked up to the point that I actually had to use a tie-down strap that I normally never used, even in serious storms. And a heavy fog blew in, which was extremely weird for this altitude in June. I'll never forget thinking to myself that with this fog and the wind, the fog should blow through within a few minutes. But the wind continued to blow, and the fog just wouldn't break. We were talking 25 feet of visibility tops. I couldn't see crap through my noodles, and they kept getting fogged out from all of the moisture. It almost made you dizzy because you could see the fog blowing by, and no matter what direction you looked, and everything was in motion, and it was so cold. Suffice to say, at this point, we called it. Time to go to bed. Naturally, I don't think that either of us really slept. I won't lie and tell you that we heard nothing. It was actually just dead quiet once the wind stopped, about an hour after we had gone into the tent. Usually we sleep in when we go camping, but this was a little bit of a different experience. We ended up basically crawling out at first light. Once we got up, I pretty quickly surveyed the area. It looked like it was going to be another beautiful day, very sunny. So we started our normal morning camping routine. We cooked up some eggs, some bacon, and we were in the process of cooking what we had left of the bacon when my wife said, people. I turned from where we were to the passenger side of the Xterra and looked through the windows, and coming up the road were 4 people walking up the road to our campsite, 2 on the left and 2 on the right, in somewhat a staggered pattern, and at least one of the males was taking pictures of the campsite. If you're not somebody that goes to the woods, FYI, this is extremely unusual. Walking into somebody's campsite is like walking into their home. So naturally, when I look down the road and I see 4 people essentially in a small unit formation moving into my campsite, that's a problem. I walked around my vehicle to meet them, and when I said good morning, all 4 of them jumped like they weren't expecting people to be there. It was 2 males and 2 females, and they basically took a second to look at each other like they weren't sure who should be the one to speak up for whatever was going on. This seemed a little bit weird to me because when you're walking up on an obvious campsite, you can see a vehicle, tent, fire pit, etc., but they were surprised to see people there. A male claimed that they were bird watching, and very cautiously all 4 of them turned around and started walking back down the road. The male who stated they were bird watching looked back up at me several more times. I couldn't help but notice that he seemed extremely situationally aware. Following this interaction, we were pretty much maxed out on what we were willing to deal with. We typically pack in an organized fashion, but this was not one of those trips. We kind of just threw everything into the car, got everything loaded up, and started to head back down the mountain. At the bottom of the aforementioned extremely steep and rugged road to the campsite, we passed a parked SUV occupied by just 1 driver. We did not see the additional 4 personnel on our drive back down. All had appeared to be physically fit and of military age. Alright, so I know a few people are going to be like, Jeff, why did you even include this? It didn't even have cryptids in it. In their best neckbeard voice that still lives with their mom in their basement. But the reason why I did was because what the gentleman said. Be vigilant of your surroundings while in the woods with a loved one or by yourself. Now, the couple did experience some strange phenomenon prior to. You can't explain that dog, right? And then the weather pattern, which is very strange. And then the 4 individuals walking up almost in a militarized pattern. Very strange. Now, some of you may be like, hey, maybe they were looking for their lost dog. Well, Wouldn't that be your first comment to or question to the people that you just stumbled into their campsite would be? Hey, sorry to bother you folks, but we lost our dog last night. You wouldn't happen to see or hear him. Instead, we're bird watching. Now, possibly, this is just a possibility, this couple stumbled upon a underground military installation, and these 4 or 5, counting the one in the car below, were sent up to kind of, visualize the situation. Maybe there was some sort of weather disruption machine up on this mountain. Who knows? I don't know. It makes a little sense to me. Maybe these people were some sort of security team and making sure that this little military installation underground that possibly could be funded by the Air Force. Maybe it was a HARP involvement. Who knows? Supposedly the HARP program was supposedly stopped, I believe, in 14 or 15. This would have occurred back in like 2018. So maybe it's not stopped. Maybe they stumbled upon something that they weren't. And that's what this little team was about. But the most key important thing is why I shared this was because it really shows you that you have to be vigilant. You have to be aware of what is around you while you're in the woods. When you're in nature, you can't take it for granted. You do have to have your neck on a swivel. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can't enjoy the outdoors, but when you are enjoying the outdoors, you should always kind of, just be aware of everything, I almost said situationally aware, which is another kind of military statement. And that was what the gentleman felt from the guy who kept looking back at him. So, something's up. I believe these people stumbled upon a underground facility. So, moving on. Today's second experience. All right, I'm 43 years old, and this took place near Deadwood, South Dakota in the Black Hills when I was in 5th grade. I'm pretty sure it was during the summer months between my 5th and 6th grade years in school. So quick math says I was 10, maybe 11. My birthday is in July. Anyway, that matters because at that age I was old enough to be aware of my surroundings and to know the difference between imaginary and real friends. So basically, none of this was imagined on my part, and everything I am going to share is, to the best of my ability/memory, true and in no way exaggerated or over-sensationalized for effect. We lived in a small town of Lead, South Dakota, which is about 2 miles further up the hill from Deadwood, South Dakota. The same Deadwood that Wild Bill Hickok was killed in the same Deadwood that they made a TV series after of the same name. The area, geographically speaking, is strikingly different from the rest of its surroundings that consist of Wyoming, flat and empty. To the left, and the plains and Badlands, flat and empty, to the right. The Black Hills are actually really pretty. And for an area that you could easily cover on a map with your thumb, they're surprisingly dense and rugged. I can't imagine living there way back in the olden days. One winter, this bit is not at all relevant to my experience. Just a cool memory from living there. I remember it had snowed over 8 feet in only 2 days. 8 feet. That's as tall as a door frame in your home. 12 to 13-foot snowdrifts. The first day of the blizzard, there was 0 wind. Somewhere my mom has a photo of at least 2 feet of snow that had stacked itself up on top of the antenna of our old Chevy station wagon. That was nuts. Then the wind came with purple lightning. It was a truly insane place to live. All right, back to the experience. My family was considered big by today's standards. I am number 3 of 6 boys, and having been raised a Jehovah's Witness, we were encouraged to keep our friends and associates, too, members of the church as much as possible. So one evening, our family was having dinner with the Spears family at their home on a piece of property near Deadwood, somewhere within maybe 10 miles from the town itself. Unfortunately, I can't recall the exact location of their property, but I do recall nearby. There were some old, rusty, no longer used train tracks that went through a short tunnel that I remember was a blast to have Roman candle fireworks fighting in. This takes place in the span of about 5 minutes total, maybe less. But that evening it was about dusk, and we had already eaten dinner, and the adults were in the house getting dessert ready or doing whatever. And it was myself, my older brother Jason, and 2 of their kids, both boys, and we were all within a few years of age. We were out messing around a couple of 100 yards away from the barn that their family was setting up on their property. That was still under construction, but almost finished. It had exterior windows. Unsure if it was actually windows had been installed or not, but it had been a big barn door and everything. I recall we were climbing around up in the rafters of the structures, and someone on the ground level commented about a horrible stench. And within a few moments, this smell caught up with me, who was still making their way down from the rafters of the barn. I can't describe the smell, so I will attempt to describe what it smelled like. Things that smell really bad, I mean really, really bad, cause the human body to involuntarily gag or throw up. This isn't something you can even have time to try and stop. It's a reflex made of everything horrible in nature. The smell hits you and is interpreted by your brain, and before you can exhale, your body is trying to turn itself inside out. And that's what mine did. I clearly remember I was getting ready to hop down onto the ladder, and I smelled it and instantly vomited freshly eaten spaghetti all the way down my front of my shirt and shorts. It easily could have been a pie-eating contest scene from the movie Stand By Me. Right about then we heard something outside that I had never heard before and haven't heard since. It was a big sound. You know, the sound of an elephant or a howler monkey or the lions make at the zoo. This was no different. It shook the earth. You could hear it, but you could also feel it inside your body. It was something alive, and it was big. Right about then I was motionless, as we were all staring at each other wide-eyed, and while I was standing up in the rafters, the entire friggin' structure creaked and groaned as the exterior wall was pushed on from my left to the right. It was violent enough that I had to quickly kneel down and grasp the wooden beam I was standing on to keep from falling down to the ground. I probably moved 6 to 8 inches literally sideways. That's a lot of movement for a single-story structure attached to a foundation to move. The dog was going ape crazy. Its fur was standing straight up on its back, and it was in a defensive posture, holding its ground, looking directly at the place on the broad side of the barn that the sound had come from and the movement originated from, with the big barn door behind it. I hopped down onto the ground and had one of those moments of clarity. Thoughts. Is this about to come through the wall? as my brother and the 2 boys we were with started scrambling to find something, anything to defend ourselves with. I think I ended up holding a rusty pair of garden shears or something. I recall the dog, a nice-sized German shepherd, turned toward the door and ran out and rounded the corner in a very offensive attack posture, and it was obvious it was going out to protect its humans or die trying. I'm in my mind 40, and I had never witnessed that kind of split-second bravery, even in a human. One of the boys ran after the dog, clearly concerned that the dog was now in danger, and we all ran out of the barn with our makeshift torches and pitchforks, minus the torches, in an attempt to do something, anything to investigate the dog having put itself in harm's way. Right behind the barn there were bushes, and this hill started up pretty steep, like 45-degree angle. It was steep enough to climb up, but steep enough that it would have been a pain in the ass. It was literally overgrown with brush, trees, and all that other stuff. We rounded the corner of the barn, and all we see is this very dark figure that resembles a 10-foot-tall football player. And if its uniform and helmet was a dark-colored ghillie suit. It turned and ran full speed on 2 legs. I clearly recall it was grasping and spatting while breaking through the trees and bushes on its way up this steep hillside. It was like a cartoon. Dark figure runs up the hill as bushes and trees rustle and break. Then it zigs and runs further as the trees and bushes rustle. Then zags and runs further as trees crash and break and bushes rustle violently. Whoosh, whoosh, crash, slam, whoosh, snap, bam, crash, bang, crash. It was up and over this incline in maybe 10 seconds. This was a mountain, and it ran up faster than I've ever seen anything run ever. It sprinted up an incline steeper than the laws of physics would allow you to drive a vehicle, and completely overgrown with thick brush and trees. The entire encounter, this thing was screaming, louder than I could if I were to curl my lips, and below as loud as I could right now. Hell, it was louder than 3 to 4 adults could yell, if all yelling at the same time, and yelling as if they were trying to permanently mess up their voices. But it wasn't human, but it was screaming. The dog ran back to us after having given up chasing a quarter of the way up the hill, and there we were, all 4 of us kids with a dog, none of us dead. And with the fires of hell lit under our feet, we flew back to the house and exploded on the front door, all of us babbling, panting, and crying, and puke-covered and freaking out. But it was mostly dark by this point, and the adults dismissed us and our story, saying we must have seen an elk, a deer, or a bear. No, I've seen all of those in the wild lots of times. And when was the last time a bear screamed at you and ran up 2 feet? An impossible incline, grasping at everything. Bears don't grasp, and they don't scream. All right, so some terrifying experiences right there. I actually didn't intend on jumping in front of the camera today. I was just going to narrate those few encounters and that be the upload. But I got thinking about some things, and I am planning on going up to where Tom Mezek disappeared. And for those new people to the channel, if you're not familiar with Tom Mezek is a missing 411 case in the Adirondacks, about a half an hour north of where I live. And I have been obsessed with the case for the last 5 years. He disappeared on my daughter's birthday, November 15th, 2015. And Belle was 8. I actually remember her birthday. It was kind of a weird day that day. There was a lot of overcast, and it was kind of chilly. So I know that Wednesday is going to be an overcast day. So I think I might go up that day because I seem to have better luck capturing things on overcast days for some reason. I don't know why. The day that I had caught the metallic noises was November 15th, 2024. And that was an amazing day because to me it proved a lot about that case. And I don't watch other YouTube channels. I have been researching for myself for a long time now. I don't consider watching videos research. That's not my style. I read a ton. I talk to a lot of different people. And I like to go out and look at places, especially the Mezek case. So I'm well aware of David Paulides' missing 411 theories. I know initially he didn't involve cryptids, and then at one point he did, and then at one point it was UFOs, and many different kind of theories, which is how you do it. You work the theories. You can't have one theory about these cases because nothing has been proven yet. Now, with everything that I've been looking into as of late, with the deep underground military bases, the biblical end of everything, portals, reptilian, alien creatures, Lemurians, I really think that he is onto something with the extraterrestrial. But I don't believe that they are from above. I think that, my own opinion, I think that this metallic noise that I captured on film was a portal possibly opening or closing. I think that these entities, these reptilian, these whatever you want to call them, there had been many statements about these creatures being here long before humanity. Well, if they were in fact demonic or demons, makes a lot of sense to me. Where do these portals open up to? Where are these creatures going to? How are we still seeing Nephilim? The biblical end on that, I started to really think about things. And I'm like, well, if the Nephilim were the children of the fallen angels, the 200 fallen, which many of them, I don't know why we call them fallen angels, because many of them came down by God's command. So, I mean, they didn't fall from heaven. They just turned their back on God while they were down on earth. So it's kind of, fallen doesn't fit, but whatever, who am I? If these creatures are in fact children of these fallen angels and humanity, the women, would they go to hell when they died? Yeah, probably. Makes sense. So if these portals are opening up to alternate dimensions, hell could be one of them. Different planes of outer space could be another one. So people are like, you know, we've seen these creatures come out of like this rock mountainside in a like a door kind of opened and one walked out. Or, you know, Andrew Dawson's case coming out of this mountaintop that resembles the Archuleta Mesa
and once again, it's just theory. I'm not an expert. In fact, I 100% believe there is no experts in this field or any other kind of field that is based on theory. But it would make a heck of a lot more sense for these creatures to travel, these Nephilim, to have access to portals from whatever domain they went to. Maybe they are still being genetically cloned and such by these reptilian creatures. These, you know, whatever you want to call them, reptoid soars or whatever. Because the Anunnaki in Sumerian text, there is statements of these creatures genetically creating other creatures, chimera. Sorry, I had to hit pause. We have a corny motorcycle MC. They're not even part of anything. They just ride around. They're 20-year-old kids that watch Sons of Anarchy and now think they're a motorcycle group. So I have to hit pause because they like to hang out at a gas station across the street. But if, in fact, that makes a heck of a lot more sense. They're possibly still being genetically cloned, genetically engineered. How the hell did we learn how to do this with super soldiers, the Montauk Project, the Montauk Chair? You know, what that young man sitting in this chair in Montauk at Camp Hero opened a portal in the building, and out came this monstrous creature that was just huge. That makes a lot of sense that these things are. So what if Tom Mezek, the reason why we never found hide nor hair of him, his hat, his rifle, his walkie, anything. And the man was a survival instructor. Yes, he was old. But you do not forget something that you taught for years. He was a former airborne ranger. He would know, shit, I'm lost. I'm going to sit in this location till my family finds me. All of that makes more sense than these things just hiding out in a cave and periodically coming out. Yeah, they're using these cave structures, these tunnels, these deep underground bases, but they are using portals to access other areas, stargates, whatever you want to call them. And our government learned so much from these things that, you know, that's where the missing people go. The government is still being controlled by those treaties that were signed in the 40s, 50s. And even though they broke them, not the government, but the alien agenda broke them, we still have to follow them because essentially they could wipe us off the face of the earth. Take humanity out like that. Supposedly, I mean, if they gave us all of this amazing technology we have now that we keep creating more and more and more, and they gave us the start of that, imagine what they have. I mean, shit, they have honed the use of portals. They have for thousands of years been genetically creating things. So I really think that something came out. That's what's going on. My own theory that these portals are opening up, and quite possibly a reptilian kind of team. They pinpoint a solo person at a exact location, and they have what these people, or not these people, the people have what these creatures are looking for. And they come out, maybe not just one, because it wouldn't work if there was just one. There'd have to be a multitude of them, like a small kind of reptilian spec op team. And it sounds stupid, but it makes a heck of a lot of sense if you really think that nothing was ever found. You know, these cleanup things, you send 4, 1, 2 grab him, the other 2 make sure nothing else was left behind. So it was like he was never there. And then that creates a mystery. That makes a lot more sense than the ideas and theories that I used to have. You know, a long time ago, I thought possibly Dogman, possibly Bigfoot, possibly crawlers. Maybe he's up in the tree somewhere. You know, every time I went up there for the first year, I was looking up. Wise decision to make. Everybody should be aware of your complete surroundings all the way around you, north, south, east, and west, but up as well. So, to me, that makes sense. I don't know. It's just a theory, and I think David was onto something about the extraterrestrial. I just don't think the UFO bit. In the national park business, why are they disappearing? People disappearing in so many, numbers there or in Alaska? Well, because there are deep underground military bases underneath these national parks and national forests. Hide them in plain sight. That's what our government does every day to us. They lie to us point blank and we buy it. That's my own theory on that. I think that they use, and it doesn't have to be reptilian. It may even be some other kind of species, but there's got to be more than 1 to 2. There's got to be more. There at least has to be 3 to 4 to capture the person, 2 to capture the person, maybe even more, providing whoever they are, they may be even bigger. These people, that big guy, you're going to need more than 2, maybe 3. We don't know what kind of technology they're using to subdue them, but obviously they're using something. And then this cleanup, because if there was only one of these creatures that grabbed Mezek that night or that day, there would be something. There would be a glove, his wallet, a shoe, his hat, his rifle, just something would have fallen. But nothing has ever been found up till this day. And there's a lot of strange stuff up there. Whatever was running through the woods that day, whatever came off the mountain in front of me that one day. I've had multitude of different things happen. The day of the eclipse, not an owl. Whatever it was running away from me, and it was moving at a good clip. I don't know. I just wanted to share the theory with you. To me, it makes sense because I had read a comment and someone was like, well, if these Nephilim are still indeed alive, where are they hiding? How are they hiding? How are they eating? Well, if they can use portals, that makes more sense than just hiding out in a cave and not, hunting over wherever. Who knows? I don't. I just know that I really think that portals and the alien are responsible for the missing 411. I don't think they're using UFOs, though. I think that's something completely different. And heck, they can even transport those things through portals. it makes more sense than to me, it makes more sense than anything I've thought of or that I've heard in a long time, you know? With that, for the new people in the, on the channel, I'm just going to share a compiled video evidence that I have of the missing 411 location of Tom Mezek. If you're old to the channel and you've seen it, you can stop now. But if you want to watch it again, there it is. Anyway, thank you.
All right, so we're coming up to it. 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 All right, guys, we're back in Horicon, New York, where Tom Mezek disappeared. One of my favorite places, actually, to be. Even though I had a scare just the last time I was here. But there seems to be some noise today, and I'm gonna be going up this trail just to kind of spend some time here, see if we can catch anything. Hopefully we don't, but I'll spin the camera around so you guys can see whereabouts I'm at, and just talk a little bit, and then we'll get to a spot, and I got some encounters to share with you guys. Hang on one second. All right, so the camera is spun around, and that is what is in front of me. That is what is aside of me. It's funny, last time I was here, I read in the comment section, a guy's like, there's a bunch of trees that are cut down. There are no trees that are cut down. This is broken limbs, broken trees. But you can't make everyone happy, right? I guess that's the thing. That's pretty cool. But I am glad that there is some noise today. Most definitely. So, find a location and kind of, like, I'm flat. That's the incline. And it is beautiful out. It's not humid. Absolutely gorgeous today. There's the trail that I came down through. Absolutely gorgeous here. So, last time I was here, I caught something running across the trails. I don't know what that was. It scared me pretty badly. Whew. Getting winded here. Absolutely gorgeous. Just a beautiful location. It did kind of silence out though a little bit, but oh well. Let's set up, and like that's the mountain right here. I'm on the mountain. All right. I just want to kind of give a look-see. I don't see anything around me, but we'll set up and narrate a couple encounters and just take a walk. How's that sound, guys? All right, guys, today's first subscriber submitted experience is from a former Marine. I guess once you're a Marine, you're never not a Marine. Which is I've always thought that was really cool, you know, because you have then dedicated your life to that division of service, you know. Really cool. So anyway, Jeff, I'm 53 years old. When I was 18, I joined the Marine Reserve straight out of high school, combat engineer and bulk fuel specialist, deployed in the first Gulf War, and now a disabled veteran. My dad was a two-tour Vietnam vet with the 101st Airborne Rangers, 20-year veteran. I grew up fishing very young. My dad and I used to go hard to get to the fishing spots. I was about 7 years old. In Yakima, Washington, my dad was stationed there for a few years. We'd gone fishing at our favorite spot. My dad had gone around the lake and I stayed near the car. Holy fuck, guys, we're out of here. We're out of here. What the fuck was that? Wow, I'm back at my car. There's nobody here. Dude, that was beyond, like, I'm shaking. It just took me at least 10 minutes to run down that mountain. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. I'm gonna flip the camera around and show you where everything went by. So there's nobody at this parking spot. Nobody. That's my car. Whatever knocked that tree down was up in here somewhere. I don't care if anyone calls me a coward, man. I saw something. I don't know what that was, but you guys saw me. I was narrating that. I'm not going back up there today. I'm going home. My chest hurts. That was unbelievable. I don't think I've ever been that scared. That was more scary than what occurred the other day when I caught whatever ran across the trail. I don't know if you guys can see right there. There's that orange tag on that one tree. Those are tags that they use to grid this area off to search for Tom Mezek. Holy cow. I've only been here for 20 minutes. All right, I'm sorry guys. I can't stay here today. I am just way beyond freaked out. And now it was silent for a few minutes though, if you think about it, while I was narrating. And now once that happened, now you hear a bird. But I'm also about 1/8 of a mile away. All right, guys. We are in upstate New York in the Adirondacks. Snow is on the ground. In today's video, I said I would be doing the shofar from where Tom Messick disappeared. And that's where we are. Never been here this late in the year. I'll spin the camera around so you guys can check it out. It's pretty cold. It's 31, I think. And just real quiet. So I'll turn the camera around so you guys can see everything. Alright, so as you can see, we had a snowfall on was it Tuesday? We got 6 inches of snow. But then it was 40 Wednesday and Thursday. What the hell's that noise? You guys hear that? It's coming from that way. Hang on. There's a noise coming from that way. I don't know if you guys can hear it. It's this weird, honestly, metallic sound. I don't know what it is. Not a clue. Kind of want to stay here for a second and see if we can hear it again. Did you hear it? What the hell is that? I hope my mic can pick that up. Dude, it's dead quiet here. Something's up here with me. I can tell, and I'm not making shit up. It's coming from that way. I don't know if we can hear it. Hear it? What the hell is that? I'm gonna go up a little and see. Whoa. Yeah, it's slick. There's some kind of noise over here on this side of me. I'm pretty sketched out because of that. I've never heard anything like that. There it is again. What the hell? I hope my mic is picking this up. Here's where, right here's our rocks where we were sitting. This is the location that I set that trail cam up. You hear it? It almost sounds like... That's not a tree moving in the wind. That's like a metallic... I almost don't want to blow the shofar here. But you know what? I said I would do it. And I do what I say I'm going to do. So, well, there it is. And it's got like this faint... Alright, I'm going to get the shofar out. Blow it. We'll hang out for a few minutes and then I'm out of here. I do not like being here right now. It is cold. Cannot believe I said I was doing this today. There it is. There's that noise again. Okay, so this is a shofar. That right there was a tree. Whatever is over there, I don't know what the hell is. I really hope nothing comes and just attacks me. Alright, here we go. Dude, the wind stopped. Literally, the wind stopped. No wind. How weird is that? Dude, that is crazy. It's actually 28 degrees now. Whew. Nothing. Not a damn thing. Just dead silence. Wish it was warmer today. Kind of do a pan around. Behind me is, there it is, that noise again. I really hope my mic picks that up. I'm about 20 minutes from my car. I don't know. I think it's just time to leave. I wanted to... Dude, it went dead quiet. There's that noise again. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. That's not a tree. We know what trees sound like. Trees don't sound like a metallic sound. I'm gonna get the out of here right now. I'll talk to you guys later. Look at that. That's interesting. My hand is extended. I'm 6 foot. My arm would put me at 7 foot. That thing is 8 foot and bent. That's where I want to go, up in here. A woodpecker in there. Hear him? So this is where I was. I'm walking just like I am now. I stop and I look and I'm like, let's go this way. And I do. And I mean, this is not, there's no trail here. Why did I get pushed this way? Woodpecker's still right up in there. All right, let's do this, guys. As long as I can hear that woodpecker, I feel like I'm safe. But there's no trail. I don't think the rattler snakes will be out this time of year either. This wall freaks me out too. There he is. Oh, look how big he is. Hang on. See him? There's that woodpecker. He's a big guy. Wow. Huh. That's so cool. Get to a different vantage point. Okay, I hiked a little bit more through the woods, but these are the 3 rocks that I found one day. And to be honest, there is a side-by-side out on the trails down that way. A ranger, maybe. I don't know. Hear that woodpecker though? He's going top notch. See if I can find him again. Can hear him. Just can't see him. Time is it? 2:15. Alright, so this is what I wanted to do. I've checked this area with a magnet before. I want to use the dowsing rods here. Okay, so we got an airplane overhead and our little woodpecker friend. Alright. Is there any kind of entity here at all? Anything? Cross these things. Cross the rods. Wow. I thought for sure they'd work up here. Holy shit. Are you an old spirit? Open these up if you are Tom Mesick. Open them up if you're a Native American that lived in the Adirondacks. Alright, I don't know if I want to do that up here. I know this has a weird feeling up here. I'm a little nervous about being here right now. So and I know our little buddy over here is pecking away, but I'd rather be on the trail than up here during the eclipse. So I think what we'll do is we'll head out and head down and head back up on the trails. How's that sound? Whew. Behind you guys, right where the camera is set up, there's a just a rock outcropping. I think I found a pretty good spot to set up while the eclipse happens. I had to check on my daughter in a minute. Call her and see if she's okay. Here we go. What the fuck was that? Guys, I don't know what that was. Did you hear it? Something responded. Those are all woods back there. It's all woods. Deep. Back there. Something fucking responded. It's calling. What the fuck is it? I'm gonna blow it again. It sounds like it's getting closer or further away, maybe, I don't know. Hang on. Let's see. plane overhead. I don't know, whatever it was, it communicated with us twice. And actually, where it sounded like it was coming from was it's getting further away. I just heard it, and it's going further into the mountains. What the fuck was that?
Well, there you have it, folks. I hope you all enjoyed today's upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. After all, it is your support that keeps this channel growing and going, and what gives us all a chance and a place to share our experiences and theories judgment-free, just simply treated with the respect that we all deserve. Everyone, please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. They are out there and dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless.